Imagine waking up one morning to discover the family you trusted has secretly plotted your downfall. What if the person you called mother sold you out, not for love, but for greed? Tonight, Millicent's world collapses in a single phone call. Her stepmother's betrayal, her father's silence, and the one man she loved, now preparing to leave her forever. Alone, betrayed, and penniless, Millicent must decide, will she break under the weight of their lies or fight back to claim the life that was stolen from her? But in the shadows of her darkest night, a secret burns. Why does the powerful billionaire CEO Joshua risk everything to protect the girl everyone else abandoned? What binds their fates together, and what price will Millicent pay to learn the truth about her own family? This is how it all started. Millicent stared at the crisp divorce papers laid out on the polished mahogany table, her heart steady but heavy. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows of the Osagi family home, reflecting off framed university degrees and family portraits. This was not how she imagined her married life would end, yet there was no room left for dreams. Joshua, her husband and the CEO of Ada Tokunbo Holdings, stood across from her, his posture cold and distant, his voice measured but tired. "Millicent, you still won't sign." Joshua's tone was a mix of frustration and disbelief. He'd been waiting for this moment for months, or so he claimed. "I have already signed, Joshua. I only made small adjustments to the asset division." "That is normal," Millicent replied, her voice calm but strong. Her mind flashed back to her stepmother's greedy smile and the way her stepsister Ruth always hovered nearby, ready to take whatever Millicent left behind. Joshua scoffed. "You still think I gave you too little? Always calculating. I should have known." Millicent pushed the papers towards him. "I do not want your money. I want a clean break. I will walk away with nothing if that is what it takes." Joshua's eyes lingered on her for a moment, searching for any trace of regret or hesitation. He found none. "After all those years, you tried to win my grandfather's favor to force me into this marriage. Now you are giving it all up so easily." "Why?" Millicent stood, her posture tall and proud. "Because I am tired, Joshua. Because no one should have to beg for love or respect, not even me." She gathered her handbag and moved towards the door. Auntie Florence, the longtime housekeeper, watched from the hallway, her face worried. "Madam, are you really leaving this time?" Millicent managed a small smile. "Yes, Auntie Florence. Please take care of yourself. And do not forget to look after the garden. Joshua hates those pink hibiscus flowers. You may as well pull them out." Auntie Florence's eyes widened. "But you planted them yourself, madam. They are beautiful." Millicent hesitated for a heartbeat, then shook her head. "Just take them out." Joshua's voice came from the dining room. "Number restore everything just as it was." He sounded annoyed, but Millicent knew his routines by now. He never truly noticed details until they were gone. Millicent did not look back. Her heart was sore but clear. She had fought so long in a house that was never truly hers. Now she was leaving, carrying nothing but her dignity. As she stepped into the waiting car outside, the city of Accra bustled around her, vibrant and alive, full of possibility. The pain of the past pressed at her chest, but for the first time in years, Millicent felt the air fill her lungs with hope and something like freedom. Auntie Florence wiped her eyes as Millicent's car disappeared down the quiet, tree-lined street. The house seemed bigger now and emptier. Inside, Joshua stared at the untouched lunch on the table, the divorce papers still unsigned beside it. For both of them, the journey was just beginning. Millicent's arrival at her father's home in Kumasi stirred the quiet household like a whirlwind. The modern villa, all smooth marble and floor-to-ceiling glass, held the memories of her late mother's laughter and the echo of old wounds. She had not come for comfort. She came for closure. As she entered, her father, Mr. Kwabena Mensah, stood waiting in the foyer, a stiff smile on his lips. He wore a tailored suit and the faint scent of expensive cologne, but the lines on his face had grown deeper since her last visit. "You are back, Millie," he said, attempting warmth. "I came for your birthday, Daddy," Millicent replied, holding a neat package under her arm. "Not for anything else." Her stepmother, Mrs. Evelyn Mensah, appeared at the top of the stairs, her silk dress flawless, her smile sharp as a blade. "Millicent, you look tired." I hope the city has not been too cruel to you. Ruth, her stepsister, followed, arms folded, gaze cold. You're the elder sister, but you never visit. What brings you back? Millicent stood tall, determined not to let their words sting. I came to celebrate Daddy's birthday. Family, right? Her stepmother's tone grew soft, almost mocking. After all we have done for you, is this how you speak to us? Did we not take you in after your mother passed? Millicent met her gaze, her voice steady. I never forgot. But let us not pretend you did it out of love. The tension was thick. Mr. Mensah stepped between the women, his face pinched. Let us have peace today, at least for my birthday. Ruth could not help herself. You never respected Evelyn, you never accepted me as your sister. You have always been difficult. Millicent let out a breath. I learned a long time ago, not everyone who lives in the same house is family. Her father's patience wore thin. That is enough, Millicent. You will not cause a scene in my house. But Millicent was not finished. Daddy, you let others treat me like a stranger in my own home. I have never asked for more than kindness. He raised his hand as if to silence her, but stopped short. At that moment, the sound of a car engine outside drew everyone's attention. Joshua walked in, his presence commanding, wearing a crisp white shirt and dark trousers. He glanced around, recognizing the tension instantly. I came for Mr. Mensah's birthday, Joshua said, his eyes landing on Millicent. It would have been rude not to show up. Ruth's expression soured. Brother-in-law, you hardly come home anymore. Has Millicent been complaining about us again? Joshua shook his head. She does not complain. She only speaks the truth. If there is a problem, perhaps you should look at how you treat her. The room fell silent. Mrs. Evelyn's lips tightened, but she said nothing more. As the family moved into the dining area for dinner, the polished table gleamed beneath the soft chandelier light. The air was heavy with unspoken words. Millicent watched her father and stepmother exchange tense glances. She realized she was not just fighting for herself, but for the right to belong, to be seen and respected. Tonight, that seemed further away than ever. Joshua sat beside her, silent support in a sea of opposition. For one brief moment, Millicent felt the strength to hold her head high. In that house of secrets and shadows, she knew she could not rely on anyone but herself. The birthday dinner at the Mensah villa was as polished as a state banquet, but the smiles were fragile and the laughter false. Crystal glasses clinked, and polished cutlery flashed under the warm glow of the chandelier. Millicent felt the weight of every stare, every whispered comment, as she took her place at the long dining table. Ruth took every opportunity to throw sly remarks across the table. Sister, it's good to see you eating with us for once. I thought you preferred city restaurants to home-cooked food. Millicent didn't look up from her plate. Sometimes I just miss home, that's all. Her father tried to maintain the peace. Let's not spoil the evening. We are together, that is what matters. Mrs. Evelyn raised her wine glass, eyes glinting, a toast to family. Whatever our differences, we remain under one roof. Millicent felt Joshua's hand graze her own beneath the table, a silent gesture of comfort. She gave a small, grateful nod. He leaned toward her, voice low. Don't let them get to you, Millie. The main course arrived. Ruth suddenly turned on Millicent, her voice sharp. You always act like a victim. You were never grateful for what you have. Millicent pushed her chair back slightly, trying to hold her composure. Gratitude is earned, Ruth. You don't get it by taking what isn't yours. Mrs. Evelyn's voice cut in, smooth and dangerous. Enough, Millicent. You come here after so long, and the first thing you do is accuse your family. Millicent's father set his glass down hard. This is my birthday. We will have peace, at least tonight. But the cracks were already showing. Joshua broke the silence. With all respect, Mr. Mensah, Millicent deserves to be heard. She's carried a lot. Mr. Mensah's eyes flashed. This is not your concern, Joshua. Joshua met his gaze evenly. As her husband, it is. Millicent is not alone anymore. The room tensed, and Ruth's fork clattered against her plate. So you take her side now, Joshua. Against your own in-laws. Millicent finally stood up, her voice trembling but clear. I'm not here to fight. I just want to live with dignity. If that's too much to ask, then maybe I should stop coming home. For a moment, no one moved. The air was thick with tension. Then Mrs. Evelyn sighed dramatically. Always running, Millicent. You've never known how to stay. Millicent looked at her father one last time, searching for any sign of support. He only looked away. She turned and walked out, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. Joshua stood and followed, leaving behind the bitter silence of a family that never truly was. Outside, the cool night air felt like a relief. Joshua caught up with her, his voice gentle. You're stronger than you think, Millie. Don't let them break you. Millicent's eyes shimmered, but she wiped them quickly. They already have, but I won't let them keep me down. Together, they walked away from the house, the lights of Kumasi twinkling in the distance, offering the promise of a new beginning, even if the road ahead would not be easy. The following morning, Millicent sat by the window in her small rented apartment, watching the early sunlight chase away the night's shadows. The room was modern and tidy, filled with her favorite books and the soft scent of lemongrass tea. It was a quiet space, one she paid for herself, far from the suffocating walls of her father's home. She scrolled through messages on her phone, ignoring several missed calls from Ruth and one from her father. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. She opened it to find Auntie Florence clutching a small basket of fresh fruit. "Madam, I hope I am not disturbing you," Auntie Florence said gently. Millicent welcomed her in. "You're never a bother. Please, sit." Auntie Florence set down the basket and took Millicent's hand. "Child, I wanted to check on you. News travels fast. Your father is worried, even if he cannot show it." Millicent shook her head, her expression softening. "I appreciate you coming, Auntie, but I need to stand on my own. I cannot keep waiting for people to change." The two women shared a moment of silence, each understanding the burdens the other carried. Then Auntie Florence smiled. "You always did have your mother's spirit, fierce and loving. She would be proud." Later that day, as Millicent walked to her office at a bustling technology hub in the city center, she passed students laughing by a food truck, young professionals in sharp suits, and businesswomen with determined strides. It was a reminder that the world was bigger than family feuds and painful memories. Her phone rang again. This time it was Joshua. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" Joshua's voice was tense. "Millicent, can we meet today? We need to talk. There are things you should know." Millicent sighed. "Is it about the divorce? I have already signed. There is nothing left to discuss." "It's more than that," Joshua replied. "Please, just meet me at Cafe Amara after work." Millicent agreed, curiosity and a trace of hope stirring inside her. When she arrived at the cafe later that evening, she found Joshua waiting at a table by the window. He looked tired, his usual confidence replaced by something more vulnerable. He stood up as she approached. "Thank you for coming, Millie." She sat, keeping her posture calm. "What is this about?" Joshua ran a hand through his hair. "It's about the company, your father, and the people trying to use you for their own gain. Ruth and your stepmother are making moves behind the scenes. They want your inheritance, and they want to see you broken." Millicent frowned. "This is not news to me. They have always tried." Joshua shook his head. "It's worse now. They are working with some people at Adetokunbo Holdings, trying to freeze you out completely. Your father does not see it. He is blind to their tricks." Millicent leaned back, letting the words sink in. "Why are you telling me this?" Joshua hesitated. "Because I care. Because you deserve better than what this world has handed you." Millicent studied him, searching for the sincerity in his eyes. For a moment, the pain between them faded, replaced by a fragile understanding. "Thank you, Joshua," she said softly. "But I can fight my own battles now." As she left the cafe, Millicent felt the weight of the past lift, if only slightly. She walked into the city lights, determined to claim her future, one step at a time. The day of the final divorce appointment arrived, and Millicent felt a strange calm as she prepared. She chose a bright blue dress and simple pearl earrings. Nothing flashy, just enough to remind herself of her own worth. The drive to the courthouse took her past leafy parks, schoolyards full of children, and city blocks bustling with life. It reminded her that no matter what happened behind closed doors, the world kept spinning. Joshua was waiting by the entrance, arms crossed, his face unreadable. He wore a tailored navy suit, but the confidence he wore at board meetings seemed thinner today. He glanced at Millicent as she approached. "Ready?" he asked, his voice neutral. She nodded. "Let's get this done." Inside, the courthouse was cool and efficient, the air filled with the soft hum of footsteps and paperwork. They sat on opposite sides of a long table as the clerk handed them the documents. Millicent looked over the asset division. "I told you, Joshua, I don't want any of your money. I just want my freedom." Joshua's jaw tightened. "It isn't about the money, Millie. This is what's fair." She slid the papers back across to him. "I signed where I needed to. Please sign yours too." For a moment, Joshua hesitated. His pen hovered above the page. "You were really willing to walk away with nothing." Millicent met his eyes. "I was willing to walk away with my dignity. That's worth more than any car or house." The clerk glanced between them, trying to hide her curiosity. Finally, Joshua signed. The sound of his pen scratching the paper seemed louder than everything else in the room. "It's done," Joshua said softly, as if the words weighed more than he expected. They stood, and the clerk offered a gentle smile. "Best of luck to you both." As Millicent stepped outside, the sunlight felt brighter, the air sharper. She realized she had not really breathed in years. Joshua followed, but she did not slow her pace. He caught up to her just before she reached the parking lot. "Millie," he said, "are you sure this is what you want?" She paused, turning to look at him one last time. "Yes. I need to live for myself now. We both do." Joshua looked as if he wanted to say something more, but the words died on his lips. Instead, he nodded, the final acceptance settling between them. As Millicent drove away, the city of Accra opened up before her, a world full of unknowns and fresh starts. She smiled through tears, ready to begin again. The weeks after the divorce were a mix of relief and raw emptiness for Millicent. She moved into a new apartment on a quiet, tree-lined street in a lively part of Accra. The neighbors greeted her with warm smiles and nods, and she found comfort in the gentle rhythm of normal life: morning runs through the park, evening trips to the market, and long, quiet evenings spent journaling by her window. At first, the silence of her new home felt heavy. She would catch herself reaching for her phone to call Joshua, then remember it was no longer her place. Sometimes she watched couples laugh over dinner at the cafe across the street and wondered if her heart would ever heal. But every day, Millicent grew a little stronger. She poured herself into her work at the tech company, arriving early and staying late. Her colleagues, a tight-knit team of young Africans, admired her for her determination and intelligence. She became the team's problem solver, the one people went to when projects stalled or clients grew impatient. The respect she earned at work helped repair the pieces of her confidence that had cracked over the years. One afternoon, as Millicent prepared slides for an important presentation, her friend and colleague, Chika, popped her head into the office. "Millie, a few of us are heading out for jollof rice and suya after work. You coming?" Millicent smiled, surprised by how much she wanted to say yes. "Sure, I'll come." Later that night, she sat with Chika and the others on the rooftop of a bustling local restaurant. The city lights sparkled below, and laughter filled the air. For the first time in a long while, Millicent felt like she belonged somewhere. Back at home, she received a message from her younger brother, Emmanuel. "Dad says he misses you. Will you come for Sunday lunch?" Millicent hesitated before replying, "Maybe soon, Em. I'm okay. Just need time." She set her phone down and wrapped herself in a soft blanket, letting herself drift in and out of old memories and new dreams. It wasn't easy to let go of pain, but every time she chose to try, she felt lighter. Meanwhile, Joshua was struggling with his own regrets. Alone in his spacious but empty house, he found himself thinking about Millicent more than he cared to admit. He told himself that letting her go was for the best, but late at night, the silence pressed in around him. He began to notice the little things she used to do. The way she arranged fresh flowers on the table, the warmth of her laughter in the morning, the comfort of knowing someone was waiting for him at home. As days turned into weeks, both Millicent and Joshua realized that moving on was more complicated than signing a paper. Healing was a journey, and neither knew what the end would look like. But in separate corners of the same city, each was learning to breathe again, one day at a time. Not long after Millicent's fresh start, trouble began to stir quietly behind the scenes. Her stepmother, Evelyn, and stepsister, Ruth, met in the lush, sunlit garden at the back of the Mensa family home. Both women sat close together, voices low and anxious. "Have you spoken to your father?" Evelyn asked, glancing around to be sure no one overheard. Ruth shook her head, her brows furrowed. "He's distracted by business. He doesn't see what Millicent is planning. We need to do something, Mother. If we wait, she will claim her inheritance, and we'll be left with nothing." Evelyn's face hardened. "We can't allow that. Your father trusts her too much just because she's his first daughter. But we have worked too hard to lose everything now." At that moment, Mr. Mensa walked by, pausing to greet them. "You two look so serious this morning," he said with a forced smile. "Just talking about the new company project," Evelyn replied, her voice sweet and smooth. "Ruth is worried about her position." He patted Ruth's shoulder. "You'll do well, my dear. This family supports you." But as soon as he was gone, Ruth leaned in closer. "We need someone on the inside. If we can find out what Millicent is doing at her company, we might get ahead of her." Evelyn nodded. "Leave it to me. I have a few friends who can help. And remember, don't let her know we're watching." Meanwhile, Millicent was busy building her own life, unaware of their schemes. One day at the office, her manager called her in for a private meeting. "Millicent, you've done amazing work lately," he began, "but I want you to be careful. Not everyone here wishes you well." Millicent looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "There are rumors about your family, your past, your divorce. Some people might try to use that against you. Stay focused and watch your back." Millicent thanked him and left the meeting thoughtful. For the rest of the week, she noticed subtle changes. Co-workers whispering, odd glances in her direction, and her stepmother's old friend suddenly showing up in the office as a consultant. She returned home that evening, feeling unsettled. As she stepped into her kitchen, she found a note slipped under her door. It read, "Trust no one. They want to see you fail." Millicent's heart pounded. She sat at her dining table, reading the note over and over. For the first time since her divorce, she truly felt alone. But she also felt a surge of determination. "They won't take what is mine," she whispered to herself. Across the city, Evelyn and Ruth plotted late into the night. They underestimated Millicent's strength and courage, thinking she was the same quiet girl from years before. But Millicent was changing, and soon everyone would see just how much she could fight back. Millicent spent the following days pouring herself into her new business venture. She worked late into the night, drafting proposals and organizing meetings with potential investors. With every challenge, her resolve only hardened. She wanted to prove to herself and to the world that she could succeed without the shadow of her father's influence. One afternoon, as she finalized a presentation at a lively cafe, her friend Chica sat down across from her with 2 cups of pineapple juice. "Millie, you're working too hard," Chica teased gently. "You need a break. Life is not only about fighting old battles." Millicent offered a tired smile. "I know. I just want this to work. I want to make something that is truly mine." Chica sipped her juice, then glanced around before lowering her voice. "I heard some people in the office are spreading rumors again. They say you only got your job because of your father's company, and now you are just trying to take over. You should be careful who you trust." Millicent's eyes clouded for a moment, but she quickly composed herself. "Let them talk. I am not here to prove anything to gossips. I am here to build something real." Later that week, Millicent received a formal letter from the family lawyer. The letter stated that in 3 months she would inherit 40% of her late mother's shares in the family business. The news was both exciting and terrifying. Her father called her that evening. His tone was gentle but weary. "Millie, I want to talk about the shares. Are you sure you want to take them? Managing a business is not easy." Millicent listened in silence before answering. "Dad, I know it will be hard, but I need to try. I cannot keep running away from my own future." He sighed. "If that is what you want, I will support you. But you should know, your stepmother is not happy. Be careful, my child." The next morning, Millicent met with her uncle, Uncle Kwabena, at his elegant office in Osu. He was an experienced businessman and one of the few relatives she trusted. Uncle, I want to use my shares to start something new, she told him. Not just to control the family business, but to create my own company. I need your advice. Uncle Kwabena studied her for a moment, then smiled. You have courage, Millicent. Your mother would be proud. Starting something new will not be easy, but if you are willing to risk it all, I will help you. With her uncle's support, Millicent began preparations to sell her shares and gather funds for her dream project. The excitement of building something from scratch mixed with anxiety about the future. As she walked home that night, Accra's city lights twinkled above her, and the warm evening breeze wrapped around her like an embrace. For the first time in a long while, Millicent allowed herself to hope. But far away, Ruth and Evelyn were plotting harder than ever. And in the shadows, Joshua watched Millicent's growing independence with a mix of pride and fear, wondering if he still had a place in her future. With her business plans taking shape, Millicent's confidence grew. She was meeting with new partners, assembling a small but talented team, and learning how to balance risk with careful planning. However, the success she was building attracted more attention than she wanted. One morning, Millicent was called into a meeting at her old family company. Her father sat at the head of the boardroom table, his face lined with concern. Ruth and Evelyn sat across from him, their expressions careful and unreadable. Millie, we need to talk about your decision to sell the shares, her father began. I understand your dreams, but the board is worried about the company's future. Millicent's voice was calm. Dad, I am not abandoning the family. I want to start something of my own, but I will always honor what you built. Ruth leaned forward, pretending concern. Sister, it is just a big risk. If your business fails, you will have nothing left. Evelyn added, and selling those shares to outsiders could weaken the family business. Why not let your father manage them until you are ready? Millicent met their gazes without flinching. I have thought about this for a long time. My decision is final. Uncle Kwabena will help with the transaction. Her father hesitated but nodded. If you are sure, I will not stop you. But I hope you know what you are doing. After the meeting, Millicent found Ruth waiting for her in the hallway. Ruth's voice dropped low. You are making a mistake, Millicent. If you walk away from this family, do not expect us to be here when you fail. Millicent took a deep breath. If family is only there for me when I obey, maybe I am better off alone. Back at her apartment, Millicent received an unexpected visitor, Joshua. He stood awkwardly at her door, holding a small box. Can we talk? He asked. She let him in, wary but curious. Joshua handed her the box. Inside was a necklace, delicate and shining in the light. I saw it and thought of you. I know things have been difficult. I just want you to remember you are not alone. Millicent felt a wave of old emotions rush over her, but she held her ground. Thank you, Joshua, but I have to do this on my own. Joshua nodded, hurt flickering in his eyes. I understand. But if you ever need a friend, I am here. As the sun set, Millicent realized that breaking free from her family's expectations came with a price. It meant facing jealousy, anger, and even loneliness. But as she held the necklace, she remembered what freedom felt like. It was not about escaping love, but about choosing it for herself, on her own terms. Outside, Ruth and Evelyn watched from their car, convinced Millicent would fall. But inside, Millicent was discovering her true strength. The following week brought a fresh storm to Millicent's life. News broke online that someone had been hired at Prosper Biotech, a respected pharmaceutical company without proper credentials. Social media was buzzing with accusations, and Millicent's name was suddenly trending for the wrong reasons. Anonymous accounts questioned how a young woman with just a high school diploma could earn such a job. Gossip and jealousy mixed with the truth, creating a cloud of suspicion. Millicent's phone exploded with calls and messages. Some friends reached out in support, while others kept their distance. She felt hurt, but refused to hide. That afternoon, she marched into her office, shoulders back, head high. As she entered the main conference room, her manager and a group of staff greeted her with solemn faces. Millicent, you have done everything by the book. We know these rumors are not true, her manager assured her. You are here because of your talent. We will make a public statement. Chica squeezed her hand. This is just noise, Millie. You are stronger than all of them. Despite her friend's encouragement, Millicent could not ignore the feeling of betrayal. She knew in her heart that Ruth and Evelyn had a hand in starting the rumors. After all, they had always resented her success. That evening, she visited Uncle Quabina for advice. His house was warm and welcoming, filled with family photos and the scent of spicy stew. "Uncle, how do I fight people who want to see me fail?" she asked quietly. Uncle Quabina stirred his tea, thinking, "You fight by refusing to stoop to their level. Focus on your work. Let your actions speak for you. If you stay honest and determined, the truth will come out." His words brought her comfort. Still, the situation worsened when her stepmother's friend called, demanding she hand over her shares to protect the family name. Millicent refused, knowing she could not let go of her dream. The pressure reached a breaking point when her father called an emergency board meeting. In the bright conference room, surrounded by relatives and family friends, Millicent faced her father, Ruth, and Evelyn. "Millicent," her father said gravely, "there are calls for you to give up your shares. People say your actions could damage the company." Millicent stood firm. "Dad, I am not the problem here. The rumors are lies, and giving in would only encourage more of this behavior. I have worked hard for everything I have." Ruth scowled, but Millicent caught a look of pride flicker in her father's eyes. For the first time, he saw her not as a child, but as a grown woman willing to stand for her beliefs. That night, Millicent wrote a public letter. She explained her qualifications and her plans for the future, ending with a simple message. "Do not let fear or envy destroy your hope. I am not afraid, and neither should you be." Within days, support poured in from women and young entrepreneurs across the city. People began to see Millicent for who she really was. A fighter, not a fraud. In the quiet moments after the storm, Millicent realized that fighting for her dreams would always attract critics. But she also knew she could handle whatever came next, as long as she stayed true to herself. Despite the recent public support, Millicent still faced battles inside her family. At home, her father paced the living room, troubled by the arguments between his wife and daughters. He tried to mediate, but old wounds and deep jealousy continued to flare up. Evelyn, never one to let go of her grudges, confronted Millicent in the garden one humid Saturday morning. The air was thick with tension as she spoke in a measured voice. "Millicent, is it not enough that you broke apart our family? Now you want to take away our stability too." Millicent looked at her stepmother with tired eyes. "I am not trying to hurt anyone. I am just trying to live my life and honor my mother's wishes." Evelyn's mouth tightened. "If you really cared about this family, you would hand over those shares and forget your dreams. You do not know what you are doing." Millicent shook her head. "I know exactly what I am doing. Maybe it is time you saw me as more than just a child to be controlled." After their heated exchange, Millicent walked back to her room, her heart pounding. She called Chica, who listened quietly before offering gentle encouragement. "Sometimes, standing up for yourself means standing alone, Millie," Chica said. "But you are never truly alone. We are all behind you." Later that evening, Millicent's father knocked on her door. His face was drawn, and his voice was softer than she had ever heard before. "Millie, I am sorry for all the confusion. I have allowed too much fighting under my roof. I want to support you, but this is not easy for any of us." She took his hand. "I understand, Dad. I just wish everyone could see that I am not trying to destroy the family. I am trying to build something new." He nodded, tears gathering in his eyes. "I believe you, my child. I only want you to be safe." Meanwhile, at Joshua's house, memories of Millicent came rushing back with every quiet evening. He watched the rain beat gently against the windows and thought about all the things he should have said before it was too late. Unable to rest, he picked up his phone and typed a message. "Millie, I hope you are well. If you need anything, I am always here for you." He hesitated before sending it, but finally his heart overruled his pride. At the same time, Ruth and Evelyn huddled together in the family's grand kitchen, whispering about Millicent's next move. They still believed that one mistake would bring her back under their control. What they did not understand was that Millicent was now stronger than she had ever been. The chapter closed with Millicent staring out her window into the starry Accra night. She was bruised, but not beaten. For every wound, she found a new source of resolve. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she also knew she would not walk it in fear. The morning sun rose gently over Accra, lighting up the city in soft gold. Millicent stood at her balcony, sipping a cup of warm cocoa, feeling both the weight and freedom of her recent choices. Her phone buzzed with new emails, but one message caught her eye. It was from Joshua. His note was simple but honest. "Millie, I hope you are doing well. I am still here for you, always." Reading his words brought a swirl of emotions she had tried to keep hidden. At the office, Millicent discovered her latest business proposal had been accepted by a respected investor, Mrs. Owusu, a successful entrepreneur known for her integrity. Mrs. Owusu's support felt like a powerful endorsement. She invited Millicent for lunch at a popular restaurant in East Legon. Seated together in a cozy booth, Mrs. Owusu leaned in and spoke with warmth. "Millicent, I have followed your story. You are brave, and you remind me of myself when I started my own business. People doubted me too. You must trust your abilities and never let others define you." Millicent smiled, deeply encouraged. "Thank you, madam. Sometimes I wonder if I am making the right choices." Mrs. Owusu nodded. "No one ever knows for sure. The only mistake is giving up on yourself." As they left the restaurant, Millicent felt lighter. For the first time, someone outside her family truly believed in her. Back at home, Evelyn watched the news of Millicent's recent business win and grew even more restless. She called Ruth to her bedroom and spoke with urgency. "Ruth, if we do not act quickly, Millicent will become unstoppable. We have to convince your father to sign those shares over to us before her birthday. We cannot let that money slip through our fingers." Ruth hesitated, glancing at her mother's anxious face. What if Dad refuses? He is starting to see Millicent in a new way. Evelyn gripped her daughter's hand. "Then we have to create a crisis, something that will shake his trust in Millicent. We only need one mistake from her." That evening, Millicent received another surprise. Her stepsister, Ruth, called her directly for the first time in months. Ruth's voice sounded uncertain. "Millie, can we meet? Just the two of us." Millicent paused, wary. "Why do you want to see me?" "I just want to talk," Ruth said quietly. "I am tired of all this fighting." Millicent agreed to meet her at a quiet cafe the next day. Sitting across from each other, both sisters seemed older than their years. Ruth fidgeted with her teacup, her words hesitant. "Millie, I do not know if you will believe me, but I am sorry for everything. I think we are both trapped by what our parents expect from us." Millicent's heart softened a little. "You still have a choice, Ruth. We do not have to be enemies." Their conversation was careful but honest. For the first time, Millicent saw a glimpse of the real Ruth, someone who was also hurt by the family's divisions. As they left the cafe, Millicent realized that sometimes unexpected allies could emerge from the most unlikely places. Across the street, Evelyn sat in a parked car watching through the window. She clenched her phone tightly, determined to do whatever it took to stop Millicent's rise. But Millicent walked away from the meeting with hope. She was learning that true strength came not only from standing alone, but also from finding courage to forgive. As Millicent walked home from her meeting with Ruth, she felt a new sense of calm growing inside her. The city buzzed with the energy of evening, and she realized she was ready to let go of some old pain. She had spent years chasing approval, defending herself from gossip, and fighting for her place in the world. Now she began to understand that true freedom would only come when she released the anger and resentment she had carried for so long. That night, as she sat in her room, Millicent decided to write a letter. She poured her heart onto the page, not for anyone else, but for herself. She forgave her stepmother, Evelyn, for years of cold words and plotting. She forgave Ruth for joining in the schemes. Most of all, she forgave herself for all the times she had doubted her own worth. The next morning, she woke up feeling lighter. She greeted Auntie Gloria, the family's loyal housekeeper, with a bright smile. Even Auntie Gloria noticed the change. "Ah, Millicent, you are shining this morning," Auntie Gloria remarked. "It is good to see your heart at peace." Millicent hugged her tightly. "Thank you, Auntie. I think I am finally ready to move forward." Meanwhile, Joshua had not given up hope. He had watched Millicent's journey from a distance and realized he missed her deeply. He sent a message asking if they could meet for coffee, just as friends. They met at a sunny cafe near the University of Ghana. The atmosphere was gentle and full of memories. Joshua looked nervous, but Millicent's warm laughter quickly put him at ease. "Millie," Joshua began, "I have made mistakes. I was proud, stubborn, and sometimes careless with your heart. I do not want to go back to the past, but I do want to know if there is a place for me in your future." Millicent listened quietly, then answered, "Joshua, I am grateful for your honesty. We both have wounds. If we want to build anything, it will have to be new, not built on old hurts." He nodded, understanding. "I am willing to start again, even if it is slow." They agreed to meet again, leaving things open and hopeful. Back at home, Evelyn was furious. She tried to turn Millicent's father against her by spreading more rumors and warning him that Millicent was a threat to the family's fortune. But her father was no longer as easily swayed. "Evelyn, I have seen Millicent grow. She deserves to live her life as she chooses. I will not take her shares or her happiness," he told his wife firmly. Ruth, too, began to distance herself from her mother's bitterness. She reached out to Millicent, offering genuine support and a promise to stop fighting over the past. As Millicent looked around at her new life, she realized she had something priceless: the power to let go. She was no longer afraid of losing people, positions, or approval. She was finally free to pursue her dreams, surrounded by people who chose to stand by her. Not out of obligation, but out of love. Millicent's 21st birthday was only a few days away, and her life felt both full and uncertain. She spent her mornings working on her startup project, answering emails and reviewing business plans with her mentor, Mrs. Owusu. In the afternoons, she visited her father, sharing meals and gentle conversation. Every evening she wrote in her journal, reflecting on how much she had changed in a single year. The family tension was not completely gone, but something was shifting. Ruth kept her word, no longer arguing or plotting with Evelyn. Instead, she brought Millicent fresh ideas for their father's business and sometimes asked for advice. Millicent was surprised at how natural it felt to help her stepsister. She saw Ruth as more than a rival now, maybe even as a true sister for the first time. One afternoon, Joshua called Millicent and asked to see her. They met in a bright restaurant with soft music playing in the background. Joshua wore a crisp shirt and looked nervous, holding a small gift bag in his hands. "Happy early birthday, Millie," he said, passing her the gift. "I know things have been difficult, but I want to celebrate you. No matter what happens, I am proud of who you are." Millicent opened the bag and found a beautiful silver necklace with a tiny sunflower charm, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. She smiled, touched by his thoughtfulness. "Thank you, Joshua. This means a lot to me." They talked for hours, sharing memories and laughter. Joshua admitted that watching Millicent stand up for herself had made him rethink what mattered in life. He wanted another chance, not just as a lover, but as a partner and a friend. Millicent was honest about her fears. "Joshua, I am still healing. I do not want to rush back into the past. If we try again, it must be built on trust, respect, and patience." He agreed, taking her hand gently. "Whatever pace you choose, I will wait. I want to be by your side." Meanwhile, Evelyn saw her control slipping away. She called a family meeting, hoping to regain her influence. But Millicent's father stood firm. "I have made my decision," he announced. "Millicent will have her shares, and she is free to use them as she chooses. There will be no more fighting in this house." Ruth spoke up, supporting her father. "I want what is best for all of us. I believe in Millicent's dreams." Evelyn, seeing she was alone, grew quiet. The family was finally starting to heal, though it would take time. That night, Millicent placed the sunflower necklace around her neck. She looked in the mirror and saw a young woman who had learned to value herself. The path ahead was still uncertain, but she was surrounded by new opportunities, true friends, and, most importantly, the courage to embrace a second chance. On the morning of her 21st birthday, Millicent woke to the sound of birds singing and the gentle rays of sunlight streaming into her bedroom. She took a deep breath, feeling both excited and peaceful. It was a day she had both dreaded and longed for. The day her mother's shares would be transferred to her, and the day she would fully step into her own life. After breakfast, the family gathered in the living room. There were no harsh words or suspicious glances, only quiet anticipation. Millicent's father handed her the legal documents. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was steady. Millicent, your mother would be proud of the woman you have become. I am proud of you too. Take these shares and use them well. Millicent hugged her father, her eyes glistening with tears. Ruth, standing beside her, squeezed her hand gently. Even Evelyn managed a small, hesitant smile. That afternoon, Millicent sat in her new office in the heart of Accra, surrounded by her small but determined team. The office was filled with laughter and the low hum of computers. Sunlight danced on the walls. For the first time, she truly felt at home. Chika arrived with a birthday cake, and the team gathered around to sing and celebrate. Millicent made a wish and blew out the candles, her heart full of hope for the future. Later in the day, Joshua visited her office, carrying a bouquet of bright sunflowers. He found her on the balcony, looking out over the city she loved. "Congratulations, Millie," he said softly, handing her the flowers. "You did it." Millicent smiled. "I did not do it alone. Thank you for believing in me, Joshua. Thank you for never giving up." He took her hand and they stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors of gold and lavender. In the months that followed, Millicent's startup flourished. She built a company known for fairness and innovation, providing jobs and opportunities to many young people in the city. Her relationship with her father and Ruth grew stronger, and even Evelyn found a way to be more at peace. Millicent never forgot the challenges she faced or the lessons she learned along the way. She knew that life would bring more storms, but she also knew she had the strength to weather them. As the stars appeared above Accra, Millicent sat with Joshua, Chika, and her team, grateful for the love and support that surrounded her. She had lost much, but gained even more: a new family, a fulfilling career, and the courage to create her own happiness. And so Millicent's story became one of hope, resilience, and new beginnings. A reminder that even the most painful endings can become the start of something beautiful.